I was home alone, halfway through a quiet night, when I heard someone walking upstairs, slow, heavy steps right above me. The problem is, I don't have an upstairs. Being alone at home is supposed to feel safe, but sometimes the walls hold shadows you didn't notice before, and every creak turns into a warning. These home invasion fears, paranormal sounds, and those unsettling moments when you reassure someone or something is inside with you can twist an ordinary night into a real-life horror story. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true accounts from people who experienced terror in the one place they thought they were protected. These aren't exaggerated tales or campfire folklore. These are the kinds of home alone nightmares that stay with you, the kind that make you check the locks twice and listen for every breath in the dark. If you're ready, let's turn off the lights and start with our first story. I was 19 when this happened. My parents had gone out of town for 3 days, and I stayed home because of work. We lived in a quiet neighborhood, one of those places where you hear dogs, maybe the occasional late-night car, but never anything that makes you uneasy. Or at least, that's what I thought. It was the second night alone when the weirdness started. Around 11 p.m., I was lying on the couch watching TV. A normal night. But suddenly, the screen flickered just once, and this cold breeze moved through the living room. I figured it was just the AC kicking in, nothing supernatural, except the AC was off. I checked the thermostat just to be sure. Off. Fine. Houses make noises. Air drifts, whatever. I started another episode of the show I was watching. That's when I heard it, a soft click upstairs, like someone gently pressing down on a bedroom doorknob. I froze. My parents' bedroom was upstairs. My bedroom was upstairs. Every bedroom was upstairs. There should have been no sound at all coming from up there. I muted the TV and listened. Silence. After about 30 seconds, I convinced myself it was the pipes expanding or something stupid like that. But then, the footsteps started. Slow, heavy, one step, then another, walking across the hall. I sat there gripping the TV remote like it was a weapon. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just waited. My first thought was someone broke in. It didn't feel paranormal at first, it felt human. And honestly, that made it scarier. I grabbed the baseball bat I kept near the door and made my way to the stairs. Every step I took felt like it echoed through the whole house. When I reached the bottom of the staircase, I flicked on the hallway light. That's when something hit me. The footsteps stopped the moment the light turned on. I called out, "Hello? Who's up there?" Nothing. I texted my neighbor, a retired police officer named Howard, asking if he could come over just to be safe. He didn't reply, probably asleep, so it was just me. I climbed the stairs slowly, bat in hand. I was terrified but determined to not just sit there waiting for someone to come down after me. At the top of the stairs, the hallway felt colder than the rest of the house, like walking into a refrigerator. The air felt wrong, thick, like it didn't want me there. I checked my room first. Empty. Bathroom. Empty. Then I got to my parents' bedroom. The door was half open. That was instantly weird. My mom always closed her door before leaving. I pushed it open softly. The room was empty. Nothing disturbed. But then I noticed something that made my stomach twist. The closet door was cracked open. I hadn't opened that. No one should have. I turned on the bedroom light. My hands were shaking. I moved toward the closet, bat raised, heart pounding so loud that it felt like the whole room could hear it. I took a breath, then ripped the closet door open. Empty. Completely empty. I exhaled. Relief flooded through me. But the relief didn't last, because as soon as I stepped back, The bedroom light flickered, then turned off. Not completely, just for a split second, but enough to plunge the room into sudden darkness. And in that moment of darkness, I heard it, breathing, right behind me. Low, slow, steady breathing. Not mine. I spun around so fast I almost slipped. But the room was empty. No one there. Nothing moving. The house was silent again, but the silence was worse than the sound. I didn't sleep that night. I sat downstairs with all the lights on, bat in hand, waiting for the sun to rise. The next morning, I checked the house top to bottom. No signs of forced entry, no open windows. No footprints, nothing. But something did change. My parents' bedroom door was closed. I had left it open. And I swear on everything I have, I heard footsteps upstairs one last time while I was packing to leave. Just 2 steps. Like whoever or whatever was up there wanted me to know it wasn't finished. I never stayed in that house alone again. Wow, this situation is really difficult. You're left wondering if it's an intruder or a paranormal event. In both situations, fear will speak for you. Tell me, can you explain a creaking floorboard? Can you explain a draft of cold air? But when something breathes behind you in the dark, without a body, without footsteps receding, that's when explanations die. If this were your house, would you stay another night? Leave your comments, and let's move on to the next one. I grew up in a pretty average suburban neighborhood, quiet streets, nosy neighbors, the usual. But when I was 16, my parents started working night shifts at the hospital. That meant I spent a lot of evenings home alone. I wasn't scared of being by myself, not at all. But after what happened during one of those nights, I still can't sleep unless every window is locked and the blinds are shut. It was a Friday night, early winter, a kind of night where the air feels colder inside the house than outside. I had the TV on in the living room, watching some late-night ghost hunting show. Not the smartest choice when you're alone, but I liked the noise. Around 11:30 p.m., the heater kicked off and the house went silent. That heavy, unnatural silence that makes your ears ring. I paused the show because I thought I heard something like faint rustling outside the house. We had bushes under the living room window, so I figured it was just the wind. But then it happened again, a little louder this time, like someone brushing against the siding. I muted the TV and listened. Nothing. Then tap, a soft, deliberate tap on the window. I froze, completely still. I stared at the curtains, waiting to see if they'd move. My heart was pounding so hard that I could feel it in my throat. Another tap. This one slower. I told myself it was a tree branch, maybe an animal, anything but a person. But curiosity, mixed with fear, got the best of me. I stood up, took a few steps toward the window, and slowly pulled the curtain back just an inch. Nothing. The yard looked empty, cold, still, but the feeling didn't leave. That unsettling, prickling sensation crawling across the back of my neck, like I was being watched. I let the curtain fall back into place and backed away. I tried distracting myself with TV again, but I couldn't focus. Every shadow in the room looked different. Wrong. I kept glancing toward the window, waiting for another sound. Then at 11:48 p.m., I saw movement. The curtain shifted, just slightly, like a fingertip brushing across it from the outside. I didn't check the window that time. I didn't want to see anything. Instead, I went into the kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife we had, and dialed my mom. Straight to voicemail. Dad, too. Walking back to the living room, I noticed something that made my stomach drop. My phone battery, 80%, just minutes before, was suddenly at 15%, like something had drained it. I know how that sounds. I'm not saying it was supernatural, but it wasn't normal either. I sat on the couch gripping the knife, trying not to panic. The house was so quiet, I could hear the fridge humming in the kitchen. Then a shadow moved across the living room. Not outside, inside. It passed by the wall across from me, like someone walked between the window and the TV glow. I held my breath. The knife shook in my hand. The shadow stopped. Then, a face pressed against the window glass. White, expressionless, completely still, no blinking, just staring directly at me through the thin curtain. I didn't scream. I didn't move. My body locked up like I was frozen in place. The eyes or whatever they were felt wrong. Too dark, too wide, too focused. Then the face slowly pulled back into the darkness, and the tapping started again, this time from the back window. I grabbed my keys, ran out the front door, and sprinted to the neighbor's house without stopping. I didn't look back. I didn't listen. I just ran. The cops searched the property. They found footprints in the frost around the entire house, but none leading away, just circling, over and over, like someone had walked around the house for hours. Or something. That was 10 years ago. I've moved 3 times since then, and every winter, I still hear tapping. That was insane. We can say that silence is often louder than normal sounds. It's in silence that the imagination runs wild and you get stuck. Some intruders break windows. Others force down doors. But those you should fear most are the ones who don't need to enter to ruin your sanity. If that face appeared at your window tonight, what would you do? What are your opinions on the silence of a place when you are alone? Enjoy and leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Let's move on. I live in a small 1-story house now, but a few years back, I rented this older 2-story place while finishing my last year of college. The rent was ridiculously cheap, too cheap, but I didn't question it. Back then, I was broke and desperate, and a low price beat common sense. It was winter break, and all my roommates had gone home early. I stayed behind because I needed the quiet to study for an early certification exam. For the first night or two, being alone in that big creaky house felt strangely peaceful. It was the kind of silence you don't get in a full house. No footsteps, no random slamming doors, no late-night kitchen raids. By night 3, that silence didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt wrong. Too heavy. Too still. That house was built in the 1950s, and when the heater shut off, everything went dead silent. I remember lying on the couch downstairs around 1 a.m., half asleep with the TV volume low. The weather app said temperatures had dropped below freezing outside, and the windows were fogged at the edges. And then I heard it. Footsteps. Slow, steady footsteps coming from the upstairs hallway. I sat up immediately. I thought maybe one of my roommates came back early without telling me. But the steps didn't sound like someone walking normally. They sounded cautious. Like the person didn't want to be heard. Heel, then toe. Heel, toe. The house had been empty for days. No one had keys but us. I stood up, grabbed the old metal flashlight we kept by the door, and called out, "Hello?" The footsteps stopped. I waited. Nothing. I took a few steps toward the staircase, shining the weak beam upward. The top of the stairs was completely dark, like the shadows up there were thicker somehow. I stood there for a good minute, telling myself the house was settling, that old floorboards make noises, all those typical excuses people invent. Then the footsteps started again. But this time, they were running, fast, heavy, moving from one end of the upstairs hallway to the other, back and forth, like someone sprinting in a panic. Every hair on my arm stood up. The beam of my flashlight wobbled in my hand. I stepped back from the stairs. Those footsteps weren't spaced like a human running. Too uneven, too frantic. And the pace kept shifting fast, slow, fast again. Like something was confused. or looking for something. I whispered, "Someone's in the house." But the second I said it aloud, I knew that wasn't true. No intruder moves like that. No person would run in circles upstairs without coming down. A loud bang shook the ceiling above me. Then another. Then 3 more. I dropped the flashlight and it rolled across the floor. The banging stopped, and for a moment, the house was dead still again. Then I heard breathing. Not mine, not human. A deep, slow exhale right above the staircase. I picked up the flashlight and backed into the living room. I should have run out of the house. I should have called the cops. But I was frozen, staring at the top of those stairs, waiting for anything to appear. The air shifted, and then a single footstep echoed directly above me, and another, slow, intentional. Coming closer to the stairs, I whispered, "No, no," and stumbled toward the front door. My shaking hands struggled with the lock, but I finally threw it open and ran outside into the freezing air, barefoot and terrified. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I sat inside with the doors locked, watching the house. My breath fogged the windshield, and I kept wiping it away, expecting to see someone or something in the upstairs window. Nothing appeared. I waited there until sunrise. When I finally went back inside, the lights were still off. The air inside the house felt colder than outside. I hesitated before walking up the stairs, but I had to know. At the top, every door was open, except one. My bedroom door. I pushed it open slowly and immediately saw them. Footprints. Bare footprints tracked across the carpet deep, enough to see the shape of the heel and toes. They went from the far corner of the room to the doorway and stopped. There were no prints leading out, just leading to the door, as if something had pressed itself out of the shadows and walked toward the hallway. I moved out the next day. I never spent another night there, and I still refused to live in a 2-story house. Not after hearing something upstairs that shouldn't have been there. My friends, what was that? Someone running upstairs out of nowhere. You were quite brave, because I would have left in the first few steps. I would certainly be far away from there in seconds. And you, my friends? If you heard footsteps above you right now, would you check or run? Most people think they would be brave. But true fear, the kind that creeps up the ceiling, turns courage into silence. I challenge anyone to tell a similar story and say they stayed and faced whatever it was. 0 chance of that happening. Being home alone should be one of the safest feelings in the world. Your space, your routine, your silence. But as we heard tonight, silence has a way of changing. It shifts, it breathes, it watches. Silence has a way of changing. It shifts, it breathes, it watches. And sometimes the walls of your own home hold more than just memories. They hold things that move when the lights are off. Things that wait for you to be alone. 3 different people. 3 homes that should have been safe. And 3 nights where something else stepped into the quiet. If any of these home alone encounters, these shadow figures, or these unsettling noises reminded you of something you've lived through, you're not alone. These kinds of experiences get reported far more often than people admit. So tell me, what is the one moment at home that scared you enough to remember it years later? I'll be reading the comments tonight. If you enjoyed this and want more real horror stories, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss next week's video. And before you leave, check the end screen. There are 2 hand-picked videos waiting for you, each one darker and more disturbing than the last. Thanks for spending the night with us. I'm Morrigan. And lock your doors. Tonight might not be over yet,